All right, let's do this. So everyone that just hopped on the call, welcome to our 7th episode of Toolbox Tuesdays. We're kicking October off strong here with our advanced purchasing extension. So we've got a special guest with us on the call as well too, our product lead, Matt Sporre. He's going to be the one doing the live demo. But before we dive into that, let's hop into our agenda. So first and foremost, we'll be talking about the setup of advanced purchasing. We'll be going into item vendors from there. So talking about vendor lead time, as well as item reorder points. Once we finish that up, we're going to dive into our purchase quote worksheet, as well as our purchase order follow-ups. And then we'll be finishing it off with our purchase order past due dashboard. Now, for those of you that are on the call, remember, we are giving away a $25 Amazon gift card for this presentation. So please stay until the end. What we're going to do is take everyone that stayed throughout the entirety of our presentation. We are going to use a name randomizer after the presentation, send the winner an email, and if they let us disclose their name, we'll put the winner in our final email blast with the recording after this. So without further ado, Matt, I know we got a lot of good stuff to talk about. Let's hop into the live demo. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to hop into the chat box as well.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks, Grant. And just let me know if there's any questions. Kind of hard for me to monitor the chat over here, but should be all good to go. All right, so first things first, like Grant said, we're going to just go through the setup real quick, start to talk through a few of the options that you've got with advanced purchasing. And then second half, we'll go through a walkthrough so you can actually see exactly what it is that we have set up here. So first things first, this show item vendor FB, that's relating to the item vendor fact box. I'll show that when we go into the sales order, but basically just grabbing that purchases item vendor tab from the item card and putting it on all the related documents where you might have an item, right? Next is a pretty small feature, but one of my personal favorites, being both a BC consultant as well as a product manager. So this is check vendor invoice number on purchase order or purchase invoice. So that's going to be that external document number field. If we've got any BC consultants on the call, you might recognize this as, clients coming forward and saying, oh, well, I put this invoice through, but now it's a duplicate invoice number. And rather than just changing that, they actually have to completely redo the document. So what this is going to do is upon insert of any data into that field, it's going to go ahead and check and say, all right, does this external document number for this vendor already exist? Okay, going through here, we've got two different calculated fields that are going to be now included on the item vendor tab. So this is going to be both an auto calculation of lead time based on a defined number of receipts. So here I'm saying every 6 receipts, go ahead, recalculate that item vendor lead time, as well as a reorder point for each of your items. Again, this will include an auto calculation, a recalculation window of days for your average usage, and then a multiplier to get that reorder point up or down if needed. All right, going through here, next we've got past due follow-ups. So this will be for any purchase orders that are past due, just going to give you the ability to automatically send a follow-up email to that vendor. So for now, I've got my email address in here. I'll show you what that output looks like in a few minutes here. And then days between emails. So what this is going to say is, every 3 days after the first email and every 3 days after that, continue to follow up with the vendor until goods have been received on that purchase order that's past due. All right, and then probably the biggest piece of functionality here is going to be this purchase quote worksheet. So this is going to give you the ability to do kind of a requisition style purchase from a vendor related to either a sales order, sales quote, job, or actually truly on the requisition worksheet. And then from here, we also have an Excel file that can be generated and sent to vendors and then brought back into the quote to load that price, quantity, and estimated delivery date information. All right, and lastly on the setup, we've got email templates. So just trying to make it easy to follow up with vendors, communicate with vendors. So here, if you've seen any of our other extensions, you're probably familiar with the email template functionality. Same exact thing here, but this is just going to be in these 6 different areas, all related to vendors, right? So I've got one different email template for each of these 6. Um, Same thing here. We've got those wildcards, and you can always drill in, format your text, add any links, any pictures, tables, anything like that. All right, that's going to be it on the setup side. Grant, we got any questions or good to keep chugging along here?
Looking good so far, Matt, but anyone who's on the call, please feel free to ask us any and all questions. Matt is our product lead and our purchasing expert, so he'll be happy to help.
All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and go into the item vendor upgrades that we've got here. So grab this one. And you'll see here, this is going to be the same exact page as standard BC, but just built out a little bit with those fields that I called out on the setup. So right here, you'll see I've got my 2 item vendors for this one chair. This one's highlighted in green. What this means is it's the preferred vendor. So that's going to be based on a number of different factors, mainly last purchase cost. Since this one was apparently 0, it's setting this to the preferred here. And then you've got your lead time calculation and your last quote date and quantity. All right. And one thing that's going to be different between this and standard VC is standard VC, you have to come in here and actually manually add in the vendors, versus with advanced purchasing, anytime that you either get a quote or a purchase order to a vendor, it'll go ahead and add them in this table on an item by item basis. All right. Moving right along here, I'm going to go ahead and create a new sales order. We can show a few different pieces of the functionality here. Let's go add them. All right, and then only required field here is going to be this requested delivery date. So we're going to use that. I'll show you on the purchase quote worksheet why we need it, but on top of the typical header and line data, this is just the only other field that we're going to need to update here. That. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, add my items to the sales order. Go ahead and pick that one that I just had up. Do a few more here also. All right, so now if I open the fact box, you will remember that that item vendor fact box on sales order was set to yes. So now for the second item here, the London swivel chair, it's going to go ahead and show me, all right, these are the 4 different vendors that you have purchased this item from in the past. Here was your last cost, last date, margin, and then all of the quote data that we covered. Again, you'll see that green text is still flowing through. So this is going to be our preferred vendor for this item. And then if I go ahead and select the other one, it'll just show those related item vendors. Similar to a lot of our other extensions, you can go ahead and open this information in Excel if you want. Show what that looks like. All right, so again, no surprises here, exactly the same data that's in the fact box, but rather than being in a little corner on the screen, you've got it in your own dedicated Excel window now. All right, so from here, I'm going to launch the purchase quote worksheet. What this is going to do is it's going to allow me to get quotes from vendors and then generate POs for these two items that I might not have on hand. All right. So I'm going to launch that. And in this case, it is showing me that I do have a quantity on hand, but we're going to want to leave those and just show the process of actually generating quotes and turning those into purchase orders. So first step here, I'll go ahead and generate purchase quotes for all these vendors. Now, if you recall, this first item only had 2 vendors, where the second one had 4. So this first item's only on 2 quotes. So we've got 1063, 1065. And then this second item is going to be on all 4 quotes. So if I open up this quote here, it'll have both of the items, while some of the other quotes might just be one item, depending on if the vendor provides one or both. All right. We'll get back into the quotes in a second. From here, I can go ahead and just email these quotes directly to my vendors. You'll see it's creating that Excel worksheet as well. Pull up Outlook.
Matt, while you're doing that, for everyone on the call, just posted in the chat box, we do have free trials for all of our extensions. So if you want to check out advanced purchasing, we've got that in there, as well as our setup and our user guide. So Matt, as the product lead, if I'm a partner, how long is it going to take me in terms of setup for my clients?
I mean, base setup, probably around 30 minutes to an hour. From there, it just really depends on how many email templates you want set up. But for this base functionality that I'm showing right now, this is plug and play, right? If I go back to that setup page, I think it was just one toggle down here. So, I mean, from here, install it, add your demo key, add your activation key, enable it, probably populate a test email address just to be safe, so you're not actually emailing your real vendors, and then you're all good to go. So, and I mean, even on top of that, like all of these are just going to be checkboxes and determining what you want on all these formulas. The only real heavy lift here is going to be on the email template side.
Beautiful. Thanks, Matt.
Yep. All right. So going back to my quote here. So since I have my email in there, I was able to receive this email. So that's going to include both the PDF of the quote here, as well as this Excel file. And so this would then really be up to the vendor of what their process is. If they want to come in, update the Excel, that is typically what we find easiest, or if they want to just return that data in either PDF form or just in the email or over the phone. However it is, this is what the Excel sheet looks like. So goal here would be they come in, modify quantity if needed, change the price, and then pop in this soonest available delivery date. All right. And then returning to BC here. So from here, you can either go ahead and import in that Excel sheet, or if they, call you or just email you, go ahead and say, all right, this is the price. Change this to 12. Looking for that delivery date. All right. And for time's sake, I won't do that on all the other quotes, but again, this would just be the standard BC quoting functionality. Populate your quotes, and then from here, it's time to make a decision about which one's going to get turned into a PO. All right, so we've got a few different options here. You can set them to best price, so exactly what it sounds like. Just set the quote to whatever the lowest price is. So in this case, it'll be that one quote that I just modified the price down to 12 and 40 for those items. Soonest delivery, again, pretty straightforward, exactly what it sounds like. Whatever the quote is that the vendors identified they can deliver the soonest, that'll be the one that wins. And then best price by date means give me the best price that's still available by this requested delivery date here. All right, so in the best price scenario, it might be, they can't provide the goods for another 6 months, but that would still be identified as the winning quote, versus here it's like, all right, take my requested delivery date and find the best price that I can get before then. Okay, so from here I've got my selection. It's going to be this same quote from the same vendor, and I will go ahead and set that down. All right, so now you see I've got my selected purchase quote number. Again, I can drill in and look at it. I've seen it a few times though, so don't need to beat that in too much. And then directly from here, I can go ahead and generate my purchase order. All right, you'll see upon doing that, this special order flag now gets enabled. If I go ahead and go back to this sales order, again, you'll have that special order flag tagged. And then if I scroll over, you'll see I've got that special order number, so the related PO, as well as that original purchase quote. All right, and then from there, it's really just standard Business Central, pay your vendor, receive the goods, ship them out to the customer, and receive payment from them. All right. Any questions come through, Grant? I see a little notification box. Oh, nope, that's just your message there. All good.
Yep, looking good, Matt.
All right, so moving on to the PO dashboard. So right here, you'll see this will be a list of all of our past due purchase orders. So you've got whoever your vendor is, the purchaser, that original document date, status, and then these two fields here are going to be both related to the PO follow-ups. So this is going to be when was the last reminder sent, and when is the next one going to be sent. Mind you, my work date's a little in the future here, so I think that's why this one didn't continue to get sent, but in this case, this one hasn't been sent for follow-up yet, so I'll go ahead and follow up with this vendor. Also worth noting, I can select more than one, but my email's the test here, and I don't want to get too blown up in this 30-minute call. All right, so then I get that email in. And again, this will be fully customizable using those wildcards, formatted text, anything that you want. And then it'll also include a PDF of that PO. All right, so now here you'll see past due was sent on 10/3, and in 3 days, the system will go ahead and automatically distribute another one. And if I go in here, go ahead and post this. So vendors saw my email. They realized it's been a few months. We're going to not pick this one because I don't want to do warehouse receiving here. But long story short, if I were to receive an invoice that, this would no longer show up in this list here. All right. Grant, keep me honest here. I think that was everything we had to cover today. Was there anything else in the agenda that I missed here? I think we should be good to go if there aren't any questions.
No, you finished off perfectly, Matt. If you want to transition back to the slide
Yep.
deck, and of course, too, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to hop in. But the pricing for our advanced purchasing extension is $900 a year per tenant, which means unlimited companies, unlimited users. This specific extension as well is available in AppSource. We put that free trial in there. And of course, if you have any questions, Matt and I are happy to help. Matt is the expert on our purchasing piece. Matt, if you want to hop over to the next slide,
Yep.
we've got a very, very special Toolbox Tuesdays that is coming up October 31st. We got lucky. Tuesday happens to be Halloween this year, so we're going to have a very special version here. Ben and I might even wear a costume. I know we're talking about advanced RMA and case management. So if you're a partner that has a lot of clients that are thinking about Microsoft Dynamics customer service, this is a great one to attend for you. Or if you're a client that is looking to get a better support process or looking to get more functionality around building support cases, doing returns for your customers or returns to vendors, this is going to be absolutely huge. But like we said to everyone at the beginning, we are going to be doing a randomized name choice after this call. We're going to email the winner and get their approval to disclose their name, and we'll be sending out the recording after this, along with the winner if they let us do it. So with that, this has been episode 7 of Toolbox Tuesdays. Matt and I are going to stick around for a few more minutes if anyone has any questions, but we greatly appreciate everyone hopping on and everyone's commitment to streamlining Business Central.